Arc Raiders just got an official update, and yes, an actual official update before launch. We'll go over all the new details with that, or we additionally get some insight from the weapons guy and combat designer, some new hints and teasers alongside this one, and as always some last minute mentionals with the community. We got a ton to talk about. What's up world, it's Utopia here back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Arc Raiders. So yes, we did get an official new update today for Arc Raiders. Now there was one I didn't cover previously that happened at the beginning of June, so I will cover both of those. We'll go over the first one briefly since I did miss that one, but essentially this one breaks down to all the countdown timer stuff and everything that we thought was going to happen at SGF. So this one comes from the community manager, Embark Dusty. Again, if you played the finals before, you have heard of Embark Dusty. She goes on here to say, in the lead up to Arc Raiders date reveal, they put out a countdown timer to June 6th, and this somewhat gave false impressions that they might shadow drop the game, and instead we found out the official release date, which was October 30th. Essentially making it a countdown to a countdown. They totally get the frustration and disappointment there. This came out of their genuine excitement that they actually have a date for release. Again, they've been working on Arc Raiders for a very long time. In fact, Arc Raiders originally was going to be their first launch, and then they were going to put out the finals after that, where they ended up reworking those release dates and put out the finals first and then continued work on Arc Raiders. That was the whole change from PvE to PvPvE. There's a few things mixed in there. There's a ton of stuff in the back end that happened. So essentially, this is one that they've been working on for a very long time. As she mentions here, they mismanaged the hype, they misread the situation, and they're sorry that they led to disappointment. The next step going forward is they're putting their heads down, focusing on building the game that they know and love. They want to polish it with quality, balance, and long-term fun. Super happy to hear that long-term part, as it seems like they are working on the end game, or at least fleshing that whole bit out for replayability. They do want additional time here to ensure that it meets your expectations though. So again, hence why we did get the October 30th release date and not a shadow drop. At the very end here in the closing statement is that you should look out for social updates on their progress on the road to launch. And yes, actually today we did get the first progress update. Now we'll go over this. This is a huge paragraph format. I'll try to read through it, skim through it mostly, and then we'll go over and break down what it means overall. So again, Embark Dusty did post this update, but this is actually from Embark Sprinkles, who is a weapons guy and combat designer on Arc Raiders. So he's basically relaying the information to her to give some behind the scenes footage and an outline here. First off, they do mention here, since Tech Test 2, they've been hard at work preparing for launch. They've actually added new content and they're sharpening what's already there. They mentioned there's a lot of balancing work ahead of them as they gather data and feedback from that test. They do mention here that if you played Tech Test 2, you should keep an eye on your email, as they are planning on sending additional surveys in small batches, so you can help them with feedback there. Although, again, they already have some feedback here, and one of their learnings so far with Tech Test 2 was that a few weapons and gadgets were bending the rules in ways that didn't align with their design intent, either making fights way too quick or way too one-sided, and also not giving players enough time or tools to respond. They essentially mean their combat pillars and the guiding principles that shape Arc Raiders. And for both instances, if you're engaging with man or machine, as they say here, they want their combat to be built on beats and flow. That means letting the action ramp up and have room to breathe, not just explode and end in an instant. They want players to feel locked in, reading each other's actions and responding with each other. And two examples here for weapons are the Apigio and the Tempest, which had such fast cadence and short TTKs. So they are tuning those and getting the balance there overall. They also hit on here that they're thinking hard about range and versatility, that your loadout should influence how you move throughout the world, which fights to take, and how you win. Or they also point out that the Anvil, even though it is a personal favorite of theirs, that it was performing way too well at the long range, and kind of cannibalized other rifles. Definitely agree, although I really enjoyed the Anvil. It was very strong. They also found that most shotguns were overshadowing SMGs. They want shotguns to feel viable, but they also want SMGs to have their part too. The Volcano hit way too hard and too fast, even from too far away. So they're reworking all of those, adding some damage fall off over distance. We're also leaving you room to mod those. Again, a lot of these were without any mods at all. Most of them were stock weapons. Few of you did get some modifications on your weapons, but they were already performing really well, so they want you to give room there to add those mods and not just automatically be insane. They also mentioned that heavy shields were way too strong and that shield swapping was way too efficient, so looking into those things as well. On a closing statement here, they've got some new tools, new toys, new experiences, and they're planning a host of new content for you, where they actually do give a sneak peek here in a video showcasing that. At least a little bit of that new content here, some new gadgets, some new weapon teasers I'll go over as as we go through them. One cool one here that they show off right away is crafting basically a flamethrower or something called a flame spray. This does some limited damage at 10 per second, and it is of very short range, as you can see here. But it actually has some really cool effects to it and some really cool animations. And maybe it'll have some other utilization than just in combat. Maybe it'll even be able to melt off the doors or the metal locks that you can put on doors. Although realistically it shouldn't be able to. But there could be some cool stuff here with the gadget. Now other than that, there was actually two notable things here other users did catch in this teaser. So first off here, one of the easier ones to catch was a brand new weapon. They do highlight over this one very quickly, but it is called the Hull Cracker. Now it has a small magazine of 5, but it looks to be potentially a grenade launcher or noob tube. They also do showcase a bit of the rocket ammo. Now it doesn't have any damage specs or anything like that, we just see the weight here and the potential of the ammo capacity. Again, this definitely could change, or anything here could change, but I would say for sure this will come at launch and we will get a brand new weapon. Now on top of that, somebody also noticed in the inventory screen what looks to be some sort of flute. It has a tube-like structure, but it has some weird dots alongside it, where it almost looks like someone says here a recorder that they played in the 3rd grade. I think a lot of us have utilized those, at least back in the day. And it definitely looks like that, so maybe you'll be able to play something. Could have been a teaser there, as they do start off this video by turning on the radio, which essentially has nothing to do with the flamethrower, so people are speculating that that might be there, or at least coincide with that. Would be kind of cool. Maybe you'll have some additional things here to work with. As we know, the finals has a ton of emotes revolved around music, so we definitely could see something like that. And those are the few notable teasers that we saw during that preview. To break everything down in more simple terms, where they do go over that update since Tech Test 2. New content has been added. They're also polishing and rebalancing across the board. They received a ton of data feedback, so they're doing that as well, and they're going to be dropping more surveys in your emails, so be sure to check for those just in case. For their core design and philosophy, again, they want it to revolve around beats and flow, no instant wipes. They want to emphasize on thrilling, fair, and rewarding encounters, where there is back and forth engagement between players, not just a one-tap. So they are balancing TTK so that there's less of that burst, or at least downing somebody very fast. For the overall weapon and gadgets breakdown here, the Arpeggio and Tempest were too fast, so they are restoring those to have a better combat flow. Anvil was pretty much outperforming nearly everything, so they are nerfing that effectiveness at long range. They also again said that shotguns were outperforming SMGs, so they want to get those more in line. Where notable mention was for the Volcano was too fast, too strong, and too far, reworking the cadence there, the spread, and the range fall off. But you can still modify the thing to be a beast, as they really want to hit on that modification system. I definitely see that. If it's already too strong stock, there's really no point to even mod it further, so they do want to get it in line there, but you can modify it to get it even better. This also comes at the cost of heavy shields. Those were just way too overpowered. Shield swapping was way too efficient, so those are getting nerfed to restore balance. They also did, of course, cover what's coming next here. We have new tools and toys to experiment with, fresh experiences for surface missions, and a variety of loadouts and playstyles. As we saw that new weapon being teased, so you definitely could rock a noob tube, which will probably be really good against ground infantry. Might be a bit harder against the fast-moving arcs, but against something like a Rocketeer, which is much larger and slower moving, that could definitely be the anti-aircraft. Of course, they are targeting and counting down to the October 30th launch. And they had some final words here saying thanks for being a part of this journey as they do build this for you. So pretty cool there overall. I'm glad they gave us a developer update here, letting us know what's going on behind the scenes and how they're working to October 30th launch. And I'm super happy that they're adding new content and they're refining that end game, it seems like, or at least refining the replayability. Again, some really cool things in this update, so we'll have to see if they do have any more in the coming weeks and months. Overall, it's about cover for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuces.